Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I can pretty much guarantee in your lifetime you've heard somebody say this to you or you've said it to somebody else. And sometimes when somebody says it, you might even feel a little uneasy, a little uncomfortable when they say it. When a situation presents and they say, yeah, you're taking it personally or you're taking it too personally. How many times have you heard that? How many times have you said it to somebody else? Why do we take things personally? Is that bad? I'm going to add that because I'm processing this. This is where she comes in with some insight on all of this as an amazing psychotherapist, works with people in all different challenges and situations, meet you where you are, whether you're a couple, individual, if you're a teen. She is Susie Engel. She's back with us. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Steve. How are you?
Good.
That's good.
This is an interesting thing that we hear from time to time, that you're taking it personally. So maybe we should dissect what that means when somebody says. How do you interpret that when somebody says, "Hey, Susie, you're taking it personally"?
Yeah. So I when I hear that, and I just want to clarify, it isn't good or bad if we do experience things and take things personally. I think it's really good not to be binary, like it's good, it's bad, it's bad, it's good. Mm-hmm. I think when I hear this question posed, my thought goes to, am I internalizing some sort of self criticism or over accountability or over responsibility?
So accountability, yes, right?
Yeah. So if I'm taking something personally, I'm not separating. I'm just like working this through. I don't know where this conversation is going to go, but I'm just working. I'm not separating myself from the other person's comment or feedback or part of the conversation, and I'm taking something personally. So I feel like I'm internalizing something through a lens that isn't my best self lens.
So, okay. If something hurt you, somebody said something, did something, and it hurt you, it is personal to you, right? It is. And I guess that phrase, when somebody says it, and maybe it means because somebody hurt you, it is personal. So let's establish that. Maybe you're taking it too far in terms of how you're reacting to it, in their opinion. Do you think that's why people may say that? Maybe to calm somebody down?
Well, I think it's one of the worst things to say to somebody. Oh, you're taking that so personally. I think that's like telling somebody who's panicking, relax, take a deep breath, in the middle of
you're overreacting.
You're overreacting. All those types of comments are insulting, I think. And it really says more about the other person who's delivering these messages and maybe their discomfort. So if I say, gee, what you just said to me, and I express some sort of hurt or I didn't like it or whatever it is, it just doesn't matter. And you say, oh, you're taking it too personally. It's really minimizing what I'm expressing. Now, I don't have to convince you that I didn't like what you said, but a person who is less confident might feel this defense take over and need to keep explaining and keep defending themselves and really saying, like, no, you're not understanding. You were hurtful the way you said that. But the bottom line is we're not going to be able to control the person who said that. The bottom line is we have to cope and say, look at the other person, separate myself from this other person, look at who's delivering this message, and maybe it is good feedback. And if I'm thinking I'm taking it too personally, maybe I shouldn't. So now I'm assessing myself as well. And I think that's healthy. And maybe I can take what this person said and say, wow, I can take some of this or part of it or most of it or all of it. Or I can say that person is just coming steeped in his or her own perspective. And I don't really take that much weight about it. And I'm not going to take it personally. I'm not going to internalize it.
I totally agree. And I think it's something that shouldn't be said to somebody else, except maybe as a way to help that person if they're internalizing it in a personal way, but you feel they really shouldn't. It's not, somebody may be viewing it as let's say something happened and I view it as an attack, but it wasn't about me. It was about an organization around me, or maybe a company I work for, or whatever. But I'm reacting to it in a personal way. You may say, well, it's not, it's really not about you. You're taking it personally. I could see maybe there's a place for it there, but I past that, I don't think so.
Well, and even if there's an opportunity for a person to help the other person who's taking things personally, this is tricky. Even
Yep.
if there is an opportunity, I don't think that those words express anything but power and control, or minimizing the other person, or disregarding the other person. So if there's an opportunity, I would say to somebody who I am interacting with, who I notice may be taking something personally, I might express something like, maybe, or I wonder if that person was just trying their best to give some sort of feedback without, maybe they're just not skilled at how to express themselves. I would say something like that rather than, you're taking it too personally. And if you take it too personally, you're going to miss out on maybe some valuable feedback. Does that land? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's still, and I didn't see it this way until you said it, but I don't know if there's really a place for it. Because if it is hurting you or affecting you, you are taking it personally. So be it.
Well,
That's your choice.
we don't need to criticize a person
That's my point. Dan, your point.
for internalizing something, because maybe it's valid, maybe it's their whole context of life. And it's not my place to say, oh, don't take things so personally. But on the other hand, let's look at the broader side of it, or another broad side of it, which might be, if somebody is taking something personally or too personally, that also might be a little bit of a signal that this person has traumatic wounds that need to be
Yes.
worked through. And
Yes.
that's valuable.
100%.
That's a beautiful opportunity.
You could be triggered. You could have been triggered from something in your past, and that's why you're internalizing this in a more personal way. Maybe that's a good thing that you work through that.
Right. And then if the person who's realizing this, rather than saying, oh, but this is your pattern, you always take things so personally,
Right.
instead of saying something like that, that person could be very constructive and supportive and say, wow, it seems like this is really riling up some old stuff. I wonder what that is. And that'll get the other person's defenses down. And the other person might say, geez, I should take a good look at this, because it really is an opportunity to grow.
Unfortunately, sometimes it's used to gaslight. Sometimes it's used to shut down the conflict, i.e., shut somebody up instead of resolving it. Like, you're taking it too personally. Yeah. Instead of looking at what's going on there, it's like the other person the person that's saying that is trying to
Yes.
shut it down.
Absolutely. And that's why I say if this conversation that you and I are having right now lands with the audience, the next time they feel like they're taking something personally, or the next time somebody has the audacity to say that to them, because let's put it out there like that, then I would hope that the listener will be grounded enough and prepared to say something in a very calm way. We don't need harshness if we're going to be expressive, but in a really calm way to be able to say, gee, I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but it's just so minimizing or dismissive. And what I'm trying to express is when I hear that, I do take it, maybe it's a good point. I do take it personally because, and then people, I think the takeaway from this part of our conversation is, wouldn't it be great if people could hang in there in conversations? And when they hear something that they internalize, rather than shutting down or not getting the words out or expressing themselves, they can say something like, wow, when I hear those types of comments or words, this is how it is for me. And the other person who's about to say, oh, you take things so personally, might hear something and say, wow, I never would have expected that. And thank you for letting me know. How about that?
Yes. And
If people hang in there.
I don't think there's any good that comes from you're taking it too personally. I don't see the benefit there. And would it be okay if you feel the need to say that to somebody? Let's say you have identified that they're internalizing a situation and maybe they're going a little too deep on it. Like I gave the example before, they're making it about them, but they're not seeing the big picture that it's really not about you. So you're trying to help them out. Would it be better to change it and say, instead of you're taking it too personally, help me understand why this feels personal to you?
That's much better. That's opening up the conversation and allowing that person to maybe express
Yeah.
old things that they haven't expressed, or maybe it's an opportunity for two people to get to know each other a little bit better. It isn't our place to tell somebody else that they're experiencing something wrong. I think that's why this conversation is important. It's not anybody's place on this earth. I would never speak to a client and say, you're taking this so personally. What's going on for you? I would never say that to a client. That's insulting. It's like me being judgmental about how this person is experiencing something. But I would say, what do you think it's bringing up for you? And when is this familiar to you from your history? Because something's informing you to feel this way, and or to not to feel this way, because there's nothing wrong with how they feel either, but there's something from your past that's fueling this interpretation or perspective.
It's a shutdown. When somebody says, you're taking it too personally, I think that's really a code for, I don't want to deal with this. So I'm just, isolating you. It's your problem. And you want to walk over. The person saying it wants to walk away from it.
But the problem is this, Steve, the person who's receiving that, if they haven't found their own relationship with themselves and their sense of self and their sense of confidence, they are going to say duly noted unconsciously and shut down. And it just becomes a terrible cycle. And then the next time they hear something even remotely to what they interpreted in a personal way, they're going to take it personally again. And then it becomes a cycle for the person who's being shut down.
Yeah. Wow. It signals a communication gap. That's what I'm hearing here, because if somebody somebody feels the other person is taking personally, instead of shutting them down or making that an excuse not to continue the conversation, it's a door opener to help them out. If you
Or
feel
to
they're
or
taking it
to get to
personally,
know each other. I
right,
mean, it's not always like that person must need help, but it's like it's a chance to listen
right,
and find out what are they really saying. What,
100%, yeah,
yeah. And
yeah.
I like that. Yeah. Because we
Uh,
can't make assumptions.
no, and there's a reason they're taking it personally, and yes, they could misunderstand the situation. That's very possible. Maybe they're not seeing the big picture. They're deep in the trenches, the weeds, and they're not seeing it. And it may not be about them, but they think it is. And it may be a benefit to have somebody say, yeah, just take a look at this. Like
A
you
little differently.
a little differently, as opposed to a dismissive, yeah, you're taking it too personally. And then you're done. It's almost
Yeah.
like you shut down the conversation.
Oh, one time, this is reminding me of a conversation with a young child I worked with once. And I said, imagine, and I think this child went to like Las Vegas with their family to the Grand Canyon and the Hoover Dam. And I was like, oh, great, you went to the Hoover Dam. So I said, imagine if there was a little tiny leak in the Hoover Dam and you went so up close, so close, you could only see this one tiny leak and you tried to block the leak because you're up close.
Yep.
But then if you back up and you see there are hundreds of leaks in the and your perspective changes when you zoom out. And there's a broader issue that could be solved on the other side of the dam. Wouldn't that be a great solution? And so, why am I saying this? Because all of us need to respect ourselves enough when we're interacting with other people and respect the other people we're interacting with. All of us should respect ourselves or have enough self-worth to want to know what's going on for this person and what are they really saying instead of like you're saying, shutting them down or minimizing. And it isn't anybody's place on this earth to say you don't think right or you don't feel right. I mean, that is the damaging. All my clients have experienced that.
Mm.
Oh my gosh, when they go start looking at their history, they are receiving these messages that they don't think right, they're not feeling right, or experiencing their emotions right. And who is somebody to say that? A parent cannot say that to a child. A friend cannot say that to a friend. A stranger cannot say that to a human can't say that to another human. But we need to have the capacity to be curious about what is this other person's perspective.
Yep.
And I'm not getting it. I'm making assumptions. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? That's a beautiful thing. People love that.
So let's flip the script. Got a couple of minutes left.
Okay.
Somebody says to you, you're taking it too, Susie, really? You're taking it too personally. How would you
What would
respond?
I say?
Exactly.
I would say, no, I'm not.
Okay.
I mean, that's the first thing. I would say, no, I'm not taking it personally. The way that was spoken or said, or the words that were used, landed in a way that insulted my being. And that is not taking something personally. That is saying, I am rejecting this because it wasn't delivered in the best way it could have been.
It's in line with what I'm thinking. Even something asking for empathy in a way. If somebody says that to you, you're taking it too personally. Can you help me understand what you mean? I want to make sure we're on the same page. Put it on them. What are you talking about?
I like that. I was thinking the same thing. That would be another thing to say. If somebody were to say to me, Susie, you're taking this so personally, you're taking it too personally, I would like to flip it and ask the question, what do you mean by that? What are you saying?
Yeah.
And that's
Or
cool. I'm
Or-
cool with that.
Or even own your feelings. Say, yeah, I might be sensitive about this, but it still matters to me.
But saying I am sensitive to something is also apologetic. Like, because people
I
say
see.
that too. People say you're too sensitive, you're oversensitive, she's just sensitive, he's sensitive, as if, you've got some sort of disease. Like, no, this person is feeling what this person is feeling.
I would just cut to the quick. Yeah, what makes you feel like I'm taking it personally? Explain yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a
Yes.
nice way. In a nice way.
Yeah. What makes you, what's causing you to say that? Because it
It-
really has more to do with the person who's saying you're taking it so personally.
That phrase of saying what makes you feel like I'm taking it personally is almost sounds like one of the things you should never say. I'm sorry you feel that way. It almost sounds that way, but it's not. But let them put it on them in a non-defensive way. What makes you feel like I'm taking it personally? You may even gain some knowledge in those rare instances where you may, like we said before, you don't see the big
You may
picture.
you may gain some knowledge in the population of people who actually say that to people.
True.
That's insight.
It's the takeaway here. It's usually never a good thing when somebody says that. So don't say it. Find another way to say it. If you feel the person is taking it personally and should not, and you have a reason, maybe you see something they don't. Okay, maybe that you're trying to help them. Say it in a different way.
But we didn't get to the person who takes things personally. Because
Everything.
that's the character, that's the person who isn't, they're off balance.
Yeah.
They're off balance and we don't have time now to get into that part of it, but they're off balance and they're wounded from some trauma or attachment wounds because they don't have a confident foundation.
Yeah.
So that's the other side of it. It's not that they're thinking wrong or feeling wrong, or there's no reason why it is, but they have to look at why is this compounding my hurt or pain?
And they may be that person that rides in the victim lane where
Yeah.
it's always
Sometimes.
sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a problem with perspective. That's being way too close up here and not being able to zoom out and say, wait a minute, I'm a real person. I'm a whole person. I don't have to play the victim thing. But that's like another, side to the whole situation that we didn't really get into.
That's a phone call to you. I really think seriously, if you feel that way, or if it's now that we're talking about this and you have that realization that maybe you're in the victim mode a little often, or you take a lot of things personally, maybe there's some things truly take things personally. Everything that is said, maybe it's time to, little introspect and looking deep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Best way to find you, Susan Engel, ENGEL LCSW.com, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Interesting conversation. And it's funny, we had no idea where this was going.
As usual.
As usual. But that's a good thing because we explored many different areas. And I didn't even think of the person that really does take things a little more personal than maybe they need to. I don't want to say then they should because that's their feelings, but maybe more than they need to.
Just leave it at that. We didn't even take the time to explore the person who does take things personally. That's it. Not because they shouldn't or should or do it too much or too little.
Right.
Just because they do. They
Yeah.
take things personally.
And why? And we identified some of the potential reasons why. Always great having you on here. Truly appreciate. I love how we unscripted. That's what it's all about. We'll talk soon. I appreciate it.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.